Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of SafeDefend Live. By popular demand, the man, the myth, the legend, Craig Deavers is back. Hey, Craig, how are you, brother?
How are you doing?
I'm
Long time
good.
no see.
It has been. It's been a minute or two. You've been on the road a lot, been hooked up busy, and
Yeah, absolutely.
a lot of
Uh,
good things going on. Why don't you tell us about some of these things?
well, I think one of the more interesting things is we're hitting Wyoming quite a bit lately, and it's for a different reason than you might think. There are a few states, I suppose, in the great outdoors and the great frontier where they are approving concealed carry for their teachers. And
Yeah,
so they're kind of trying to navigate that because you're going to have a fairly large section of teachers that aren't interested in that, which is just fine. But you're also going to have, in every building, 10, 20, 30% that are interested in it. And so does the concealed carry, do you carry that with you? What's the danger level? Things like that. And so when they got a hold of SafeDefend and found out we had a controlled access safe or safety cabinet, they became very interested in that. And they realized that this might be the way to go for those teachers that do want to carry and
right.
have that. But you know what I'm finding is it's actually more important. The teachers that don't want to carry, they also feel like, oh my God, I don't have a gun, but I at least have something to defend my kids,
Yeah,
with the more non-lethal stuff. And I think that's incredibly important.
yeah. I think this is a very and we're going. This is going to do nothing but continue to become more and more of a conversation with teachers carrying or not carrying as states make these decisions. Regardless of your personal views on that, the reality is it exists, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
so how do we manage that? How do we make it to where, if it is that case, how do you keep it as safe as possible and as secure as possible? And like you said, and for those teachers that choose not to carry, how do they? We still have those great tools, those great resources that give them a baseline of protection in case there is a horrible situation. So I think, and that's one thing I hope people don't get lost on is the debate of whether or not that's a good idea. It doesn't matter; it's happening. So we've got to figure out how to execute as good as possible with those scenarios.
Well, and what I've found to be pretty interesting about all that is, again, the politics aside, whether you like it or don't like it, it's a
Right.
reality. But this tells me that the community is demanding something be done to make sure that their kids are safer in schools. And SafeDefend, we have a product that notifies people in about 2 seconds exactly where the intruder is located, but it gives teachers at least a chance to defend
Right.
their own classrooms. And here's the other thing I just found out, and I'm still fairly new to the company, but I'm very passionate about it because of the things I find out about every 2-3 weeks. We just found out that in one of our schools in Ohio, the board president said, "Hey, guess what? We got to save a ton of money on insurance. Their insurance rates went down. How about that?"
Yeah. Yeah. That's a real world thing. I mean, and I think more and more, much like fire codes, right? In the past, where they would say if you have fire suppression, it's going to help your rates on property insurance. I think you're going to see more and more of these type of things where you're taking steps with approved systems to where you're going to see your liability insurance rates go down. You're going to see your umbrella insurance rates go down. Your excess
Yeah.
lines. You're going to see that stuff happen. And I
I
think
think
the thing you said that's most important is that people in the communities, the parents in the communities who ultimately make the decisions in our school districts, not
absolutely.
directly, but with the power of a vote, they make the decisions. They are demanding that something be done. I know for years, Dan, Jeff, Rusty, all of us have talked about, schools need to be forward leaning and really get involved on their own accord because eventually those decisions are going to be made for them if they're not, because the
Yep.
public is going to get involved at some point and say, okay, this is enough. We've got to do something different. And I think you're also seeing it, with a lot of schools, when the pandemic happened, you're seeing more and more people choose, and at no small part because of safety, virtual options for their kids. You
Hmm.
know, and so it's starting to affect schools in their pocketbook, which is usually where
Mm-hmm.
when things start happening.
You're exactly right. I heard a stat yesterday that college enrollment is down 8%,
Yeah.
this last calendar year. And part of that might be COVID, and part of it might be kids saying, they didn't go to college because of that, and they realize, oh, we can go a different path. But regardless, part of it's safety. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
So I have something kind of interesting that I found. I had a superintendent just yesterday. He wanted to know more about SafeDefend because of training. And he just yesterday reached out and he said, one of the things that you said to me in your email or over the phone was that you do left of bang, or you do proactive training. And ultimately, you're going to help our counselors, you're going to help our teachers and our principals take a look at some of the kids that might be in danger, that might need extra support so they don't get to that level of where they're a threat.
Right.
And the fact that we offer that, I just love that. Being a teacher, that's kind of my bleeding heart side. I love that. Let's do more of that. On the other hand, my Wyoming schools who have guns say, well, do you even train for, I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically called best practices within certain amounts of area. And as it relates to firearms and things.
Yeah,
and I said, oh yeah, we do that too. There's nobody out there that has a guy like we have that's in charge of was in charge of the FBI behavioral unit that can do proactive and reactive stuff. Nobody has that. And
Dr. V is, the game's changed, right? I mean, we're very proud of what we're doing, but when Dr. V joined SafeDefend, the game changed. It really did. And I think that, to your point, the fact that we can do left to bang, or that preemptive, trying to get the kids the help they need, arming our superintendents, our HR directors, if it's a private business, with good information and training to be able to identify and try to intervene and help. Or, God forbid, when the first round goes off, how do you respond? Like our good folks up in Wyoming are asking about. There is nobody that can do that.
Absolutely.
Under one roof. So we're a very unique situation at SafeDefend, no question.
You bet.
Now, do you think there's more, as you look out ahead, let me ask it this way, it's a unique, because you always hear conversations, right? Should we do this? Should we do that? People just having conversations. Do you see more and more states going with arming with their allowing concealed carry for their teachers?
Well, considering it used to be 0.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I think that it's on throughout the Midwest. I don't know if Montana's headed that direction or not. I think Oklahoma, your state, isn't it legal now in Oklahoma? I haven't necessarily seen it, but I assume it's on the horizon.
I don't believe it's I don't think that's actually made the books yet. We went to constitutional carry a few years ago in Oklahoma, and listen, gun rights are alive and well in the great state of Oklahoma, and I'm a proud gun owner myself. So I don't, I'm proud of that, but I also see both sides when you start talking about arming. Allowing teachers to be, I can see both sides of the argument. I can't.
Sure.
I'm like Switzerland on that deal. I really am. I just know that regardless of whether you allow teachers to conceal carry or not in a state, you still have to have a immediate notification system. You still have to have a process. You still have to have training. You still have to have all these things. So I'm not as concerned about like you said earlier, the political side of it. It's how do we execute regardless of what that state chooses, because that's all we care about. SafeDefend is just making sure we have the best possible solution for our teachers, our employees, and the kids and the other employees at our customer businesses.
And to be honest with you, there are going to be some teachers that feel a little bit pressure from the community to carry, and there are communities like that. And this is the alternative. They say, well, no, I choose not to carry, and that's fine. But I also have a safety cabinet in my room that has pepper gel. It has a blinding strobe light. It has a baton. It has a stop the bleed kit. So there's all these solutions and even answers, I guess you could say, for those teachers that choose not to go the path of carry.
Yeah, and and there's all and again, the training, right? It still comes back to training. Once you have the system in place, or even if, and this is something that I'm real excited about with Dr. V. Let's say that somebody wants to just experience SafeDefend. You'll get signed up for one of our left to bang trainings. Learn about how to best arm, figuratively arm your counselors, your teachers with the knowledge they need to go out and help identify these kids that need that extra attention, that support before it gets to this point.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so many things we can do to be proactive to have good positive outcomes. And I think that's the real movement I think we're all seeing, or people are wanting to do that more and more.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. We had a meeting here a while back where one of the parents of a child who died in a school shooting was at the meeting and or at the conference or whatever. And all we could think about was, man, if they had had our system in place, how is this narrative change exponentially? Because if you can get your school locked down in 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 seconds, how is everything 100% different?
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
You got to have that immediate, because I think when people think immediate notification, I think a lot of people, all they think about is, oh, the police have been notified. It's not just, it's everybody in the building, most importantly.
That's it.
It's getting that notification out to everybody at the scene of the unfortunate incident, know that this has popped off, this is what's going on, and you can start letting that training that you receive kick in and start being able to, the notification went to law enforcement also, and that's important, but the people on the ground right there on the site, they can take immediate action to protect their kids and themselves.
And teachers are empowered that way because now they can make a choice.
Right.
If it's on the other end of the building, they get the kids the heck out of there, things of that nature. Or if it's a passing period, man, if you have a little bit of information at your fingertips, it makes all the difference in the world. So, I mean, there's a reason I came to work for these guys. They definitely got it figured out. They're so far ahead of the game. Not to mention that it's not wireless. I take walks every day. I'm too old and fat to jog anymore, but I take walks and I listen to my Bluetooth headphones all the time. I do podcasts.
Yeah.
And I would say on average, about 3 different times on my walks, my headphones stop or something happens. And all I can think about every time it happens is there's entire systems out there that are based on Bluetooth. And 3 times it stops. And I don't get to hear my whatever show I'm listening to that day. And I'm like, and we're going to base our entire safety of our kids and students on Bluetooth?
Well, that's, there's cable providers that are all based on, like AT&T where I live, they have it's based on your internet, right?
Yeah.
And anytime the wind blows or you get a little bit of rain, your service is just jacked.
Yes.
And I do the same thing. I'll sit there and we'll be at a place, well, the weather's, and I'm thinking, how can we honestly, with a straight face, go out and say that something that's not hardwired is going to be there when you need it? Because you can't.
Exactly.
And it's just, I don't care if my internet's intermittent for a couple seconds, if I'm just trying to Google something.
Yep.
But if it comes down to my kids or my grandkids or my wife or my spouse being safe, yeah, I care all of a sudden. It matters now. So, and I think people are learning that. Don't you, Craig? Don't you think people are starting to pay more attention?
Well, the word glitch was created for stuff like that. And that's something we don't have. We don't have glitches. It's hardwired. And all I can think about, and we've probably said this 20 times before, or maybe a million times before. Can you imagine if you called up your fire marshal and you said, hey, can you come on out to the school, get your inspection done? And he rolls in and he goes over and he's like, what's going on here? Oh, all of our fire stuff's on an app. We're gonna put it's on an app, or even better, the pull stations aren't hardwired. It's Bluetooth to a central hub over there in the gym.
We're sure it'll be fine.
But how's that insurance going then?
Yeah, exactly. No, you're right. Well, brother, I appreciate it very much. I haven't seen you since the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So congratulations for the Chiefs getting another
I wore this today too. Huh?
You're excited. I know you got a new coach down there. It's a new day.
Well, we got 5 guys into the Big Ten finals in wrestling. Now they didn't fare all that well, but we got 5 in. Huskers are coming back, baby.
I saw that. I saw the match with I follow the kid from Iowa, Spencer Lee, who's just a machine. And so I'm a wrestling geek too. And and I follow him a lot because I just love the way the kid wrestles.
Absolutely.
And he had of course, not too many people get the best of Spencer Lee, but he had a quarterfinals match with a kid from Nebraska, and handled him pretty well, obviously. But that's Spencer Lee, who I think is probably the best collegiate wrestler out there.
Yeah, he's a national champion.
Yeah, he's a stud. So
you know what I'm scared of? Well, not anymore because I'm old now, but I was always scared of that when I was 25 and full of and vinegar.
Running into one of those guys,
upset a college wrestler.
Yeah. Well, one of the best stories, I have a friend that tells his story. He was at Oklahoma State this years ago, and they were playing pool, and you used to go put the quarters up, to be net.
Oh yeah,
put the quarters
I
up.
remember that.
And anyway, something happened, and my friend said this little guy went up there and started. He goes, "Man, dude, we're next." And the little guy looked at him and says, "No, I'm next." He said, "I got ready to go over there and get in his face." My friend's probably 205, 210 pounds.
Yeah.
He said, "Next thing I know, all my buddies are grabbing me, and they're like, no, you can go next, you go next." And he goes, "I'll kill that dude." And the guy looks at him and says, "That's John Smith, you idiot. He's going to beat you to death."
He forgot to check the ear. You got to check the ear first, right?
So he always says it was the day that his friends saved him from getting beat to death.
Absolutely.
By John Smith. So.
Embarrassed and beaten.
Well, Craig, have a great weekend. We appreciate what you're doing. Keep doing it, brother. We'll talk.
All right. Take care of yourself.
All right, friend. Take care.
Bye-bye.